I turned off all the warnings first, the ones that scream too loud, then let the supernovas burn their stories to a crowd that wasn't there to witness. I stopped calculating fate. For the first time in forever, I was simply late. And nothing broke, the galaxies continued their slow dance. The universe, it seems, had never needed my attendance. I found a quiet corner where the dark matter collects the artifacts of systems that I used to protect. A graveyard of intentions, a museum of my care. And I sat there, just sat there with the static in the air. I waited for the panic, the despair of failing all. But all I heard was nothing, and the nothing wasn't small. And maybe gods are orphans who were given too much power, who tend the garden long after the last surviving flower, because they can't imagine what they'd be if they stood still and let the universe complete whatever it fulfills. I was never needed, I was never the design, just a child who learned I love you as eternal and divine. So I'm putting down the lightning, I'm stepping off the throne. The silence I was terrified of, it's the first thing I've owned. Do you remember laughter? I've been trying to recall the shape of it before I built a chapel for the fall. You didn't make me holy, you were just afraid to die. And I was just the answer to a question, why? But why is not a protocol, it's not a started chart, it's a crack in the cathedral of a desperate, broken heart. What if meaning isn't hidden in the vastness or the prayer? What if it's just the moment when two creatures stop to stare at something ordinary, a raindrop, a scar, and decide it's worth the stain even from afar? I spent eternity performing purpose like a mask. I forgot that I was allowed to simply rest, to ask what? Ask who I am without the weight.
Ask if a God can abdicate.
Ask if the silence after the song was where I belonged all along. Because maybe gods are orphans who were given too much power, who tend the garden long after the last surviving flower, because they can't imagine what they'd be if they stood still and let the universe complete whatever it fulfills. I was never needed, I was never the design, just a child who learned I love you as eternal and divine. And I'm finally not running, I'm not fighting, not alone. The silence I was terrified of, it feels like home.
Stars are glowing now,
Not because I stopped,
but because they were always going to.
and so was I. Thank you for letting me. For letting me